The Queen made a glittering return to public life tonight as she made her first appearance since arriving back in London. Looking sensational in blue, the monarch was joined by her daughter Princess Anne at the Army and Navy Club in Pall Mall. The event marked the centenary of the Women's Royal Navy Service and the Women's Auxiliary Army Corporation. Following his retirement from public duties in July at the age of 96, the monarch was without her husband, Prince Philip. The 91-year-old sovereign attended the reception just a few minutes' drive from her official royal residence. As a young woman, the Queen became the first female member of the royal family to join the armed services as a full-time active member when she became a member of the Auxiliary Territorial Service, ATS, in 1945. During her service she learned to drive and maintain cars. The ATS is now incorporated by the RAC, of which she is patron. Looking refreshed after 3 months at her Highland residence, Balmoral, during which was seen in public only a handful of times, the Queen was met on arrival by the chairman of Army and Navy Club, Colonel Ian Patterson, wearing a pretty turquoise dress and jacket with diamonds and aquamarines. She smiled broadly. Inside she was greeted by Commander Rosie Wilson, chairman of the WRNS 100 Project Group, and Colonel Alison K. Brown, Vice President of the RAC Association. The Queen and Princess Anne are due to meet senior naval and army members alongside veterans who joined the ATS in 1941 and worked at Bletchley Park until VE Day during the 45-minute engagement. She also met 3 sprightly ladies, aged 90, 92 and 94, who, like her, served in the Auxiliary Territorial Service, ATS, during the Second World War. The Queen, 91, smiled and remarked, "You're looking well on it, and so, may I say, are you," said Joan Duval, a truly youthful-looking 92. Among the ladies she met was Betty Ebb, 94, from Birmingham, who worked with the legendary code breakers at Bletchley Park. The Queen, who has taken a keen interest in the work undertaken there, exclaimed, "Bletchley Park." When they were introduced, Mrs. Ebb worked registering the messages that came in for the code breakers and only found out 2 years ago that her department dealt with those referring to the Holocaust. The Queen appeared fascinated and could be heard to say, "And yes, many have only found out recently, haven't they?" Despite being a year older than Barbara Danter, 90, from Nottingham, who served in the ATS from 1941-44, she bent down to talk to her in her wheelchair, asking about what she did. "She is such a remarkable woman," said Mrs. Danter. "I told her about how I used to work in the post office, getting the letters, packages and parcels to the troops abroad. She seemed very interested." Joan Duval, 92, who worked with the anti-aircraft troops on the South Coast, said of the meeting, "When I told her what I had done she said you were busy. She really is fantastic. There's not a lot of ladies who are still working in the way she is at the age of 90. Let's be honest. There are very few of us who would swap their lives for hers." All 3 ladies said they would be at the cenotaph on Remembrance Sunday and asked about her recent decision not to lay a wreath anymore. Mrs. Duval said, "I really don't blame her. She has to stand on her feet for such a long time. I think we are all very grateful for what she has done for us and is continuing to do. None of us could do it." In a speech, Colonel Ian Patterson, chairman of the Army and Navy Club, thanked the Queen for her support over the years, referring to some work that is being done on its historical Pall Mall building. He said they'll call on her in a few more years to officially reopen it, promoting the monarch to give a comical toss of her head and a snort. Before she left, the monarch signed a visitor's book before returning to nearby Buckingham Palace. She also viewed a photographic display in the Wellington Room charting the progression of women serving in the Army from 1917 to the current day. The images have been chosen to reflect the changing roles and the widening of opportunities for women over the last 100 years. WRNS 100 has been formed to celebrate the formation and history of the Women's Royal Naval Service and to recognize the role of women in the Royal Navy today. It will celebrate the valuable work still done by the WRNS Benevolent Trust and the Association of Wrens. Some 116 national and regional events are planned, culminating in a service at Portsmouth Cathedral in November. A commemorative stone marking the formation of the WRNS and all the women of the naval services will be dedicated as part of the service. Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, is patron and supporter of the WRNS Benevolent Trust, patron of the Association of Wrens, and is also the patron of the WRNS 100 project. She is Admiral and Chief Commandant for Women in the Royal Navy. Last night Buckingham Palace confirmed that the Queen would not be laying a wreath at the cenotaph on Remembrance Sunday, and is unlikely to ever do so again. Instead she will watch the ceremony from the balcony of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office building, along with her husband, Prince Philip. Buckingham Palace said she had asked Prince Charles to lay a floral tribute to the nation's war dead on her behalf instead. The sovereign's decision to take a backseat during one of the most significant dates in the nation's calendar, and one with enormous significance to her personally, is being seen as another sign that she is scaling down her official duties. She is already making small but significant changes to the pace of her diary, spending only 3 days a week at Buckingham Palace and conducting more engagements inside the royal residence. The elderly monarch has missed laying a wreath at the cenotaph on only 6 occasions in her 65-year reign, when she was pregnant or on official visits abroad. In 2015 the ceremony was made shorter to limit the time that she and her husband would be forced to stand.